Doug! Did you know that today in 1630, Massachusetts Governor Winthrop introduced the fork to American dining?
I did not know that.
They say it was the best of times.
Please don't tell me that you've been sitting on that silverware pun.
Yeah, go fork yourself. Welcome to the Diehards. The Scott Fish Bowl enters its 15th year and continues to be fantasy football's version of the Midsummer Classic, a one-of-a-kind event that combines competition with a powerful commitment to community and charity. As always, Scott Fish is keeping drafters on their toes with unique scoring twists and lineup requirements, making strategy more important and more fun than ever. And tonight, we discuss strategy, players, and possibly partake in some tomfoolery. I'm your host, JJ Wenner, and I am joined by the fantasy orthical himself, Doug Orth. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
All right. Well, our guests need no introduction, but I'm going to give them one anyway. Hailing from the Lehigh Valley, he's a senior writer for Dynasty Nerds, the captain of the SFB hopefuls, and practically my neighbor. It is the one and only Jayson Snyder. How you doing, Jayson?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Never been better.
No.
I hope you don't let that dad joke drive a fork between you.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Wow. You had to knife that one in there. Next up, hailing from Houston, Texas, the editor-in-chief of Full-Time Fantasy, the liaison for this podcast, and a man who gets all micro on his macros, it's Jody Smith. You like the macros joke, don't you, buddy?
Yeah, that was well played, especially considering how hungry I've been this week. But
well, that's because you're making gains.
About macros,
let's be honest.
Macros and forks and all. I mean, man, so good.
I'm going to avoid the obvious spoon comment here. So continue, please.
I'd spoon with you, Doug.
No, you wouldn't.
I'd be big or little spoon. I don't even care.
All right, and that's our show. Thanks for
and we'll see you guys. No. All right. Before we start the mock, I just wanted to go over some of the major changes for the rules this year. Well, that's not. Wait, what? That's not it. Remove to stage. There we go. That's the one.
Yeah,
all right. So first up, return yards are gone.
Thank God.
Thank God. All TDs are 6 points. And maybe most interestingly, we are now at 2.5 points per reception on Sleeper. If you're playing an MFL, it's a point per target and a point per reception on MFL. Now, Doug, how does this change your strategy for the draft?
Well, I think looking at the board here, I think the natural inclination would be to bump up tight ends, especially considering that they get an additional point for each catch. My problem with that is how often can we count on tight ends going for 100-plus catches and almost 1,200 yards? And that's kind of what we had last year with Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. I personally want to start my team with either Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, or Josh Allen, if for no other reason, because none of them have finished lower than 7th in overall scoring in this scoring setup over the last 2 seasons. As Scott Fish himself said, volume is king this year, so getting those extra 50 or so points on top of the rushing and passing totals makes them a cheat code of sorts, already more than they already are. I think it helps to look at the draft as positionless from that point on and simply take the player with the next highest point projection on your board. JJ, if you want to go ahead and share the screen here real quick. One last thing before I turn it back to you, JJ, is that the research I did for my SFB column here 2 or 3 weeks ago revealed that you want your first-round pick to be capable of scoring at least 500 points for the season. You also want at least 8 members of your starting 11 to average at least 20 points per week, and you should shoot for your team to score about 370 per week. All
right. So, Jody, with this in mind, with this volume is king idea. What players popped into your head when you saw this new scoring?
Well, again, you're talking when it comes down to sheer volume, you're upgrading running backs by a large margin than what we're used to. Not even in just Scott Fishbowl, but in fantasy in general. Zero RB and wide receiver heavy builds have become the rage over the last few years. So it's going to be a bit of a 180 for a lot of people to go a little old school here, like me and some of the older people. Not you guys, of course. Us old guys. And emphasizing running back so much. Alvin Kamara is one guy to me that's going to be overlooked because he's just so heavy when it comes to being involved. All 3 downs. I know they added some people behind him, but I still feel like Kamara's a nice value in this format. And then to me, Doug is absolutely right. The top 4, top 5 quarterbacks, you're running quarterbacks that are going to be rushing for first downs and getting your touchdown runs. And those are the guys that are going to be worth a whole lot in this format where Jared Goff and, the pocket passer type guys, they really, really plummet. And in particular, when I'm looking at it correctly, you don't even have to start a quarterback, right?
Nope.
No, you could go through the whole draft, 10, 11 receivers or, nothing but running backs. It's just real crazy. And I really think it's a really fun format.
Well, that actually brings me to my next point. The next biggest change, as Jody was saying, is the fact that it is positionless. It's 11 flex players. You can start anybody you want to start. So, Jayson, when you saw that, what went through your mind?
It's ironic that we're having a discussion about Scott Fishbowl strategy, because the first thing that went through my mind was go into this draft with no strategy. I mean, you really have to go in with a very open mind. You have to go in and not say, this is how I'm going to construct my team. This is how I'm going to build. I'm going to go, running back early, or I'm going to go, it doesn't really matter because of the way that these scoring settings are structured. You really have to just stay disciplined on best player available throughout this entire draft. And I would add to that, I kind of agree with what Doug was saying, which is, especially in the early rounds, I would value consistency over just about anything else, just because, you might have had a player, Saquon Barkley went nuts last year, and his average, points per game was very high, but he's not a player that's without an injury history. And so when you're comparing him versus a guy like Josh Allen, and you're looking at your first round pick, if your first round pick misses half the season with an injury, you're sunk. And Josh Allen has shown that he can be consistent. He's not particularly prone to injury. So I'll take a little bit of a hit in terms of points per game average to get a guy that I think is rock solid like Josh Allen in that first round.
Well, gentlemen, I don't want to interrupt, but I do have to introduce one of our late arriving guests, hailing from parts unknown, a writer for Fantasy Points and Rotoballer, half man, all mustache. It's Matt Donnelly. What's going on, Matt?
I have no idea if this is even going to work what I have set up.
I'm just excited to see Canada got internet.
But I'm still trying to restart right now. I've got the stream going on my work phone. I've got the draft going on my personal phone. I'm like using my mic off my phone, so the sound quality, the picture quality, I apologize. I probably look better this way than normal. So here we go.
I was about to say that, buddy, but I didn't want to be mean. All right. Well, let's jump right into it then. We talked all about strategy. Doug, is there anything that people should know before we start?
Yeah, well, let's remember the charitable aspect of the Scott Fish Bowl. It's the main fundraising event for Fantasy Cares. It's a foundation that's raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity. The majority of funds raised are used to buy toys for kids at Christmas. But Fantasy Cares has also supported dog rescues, hurricane relief efforts, food shelves, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and many other worthy causes.
And before we hit start, Jody Smith and the team at Full Time Fantasy have done the heavy lifting once again. The 36th edition of the Pro Forecast magazine is about to hit the presses, packed with expert analysis, rankings, and draft strategies. It's your blueprint for dominating fantasy football in 2025. Be sure to tune in all summer long for your chance to win a free copy and crush your competition. Jody doesn't know that I've been offering free copies, but he's on the show tonight. So,
No.
Hey, buddy, I'm going to need a couple free copies.
Yeah, can you get me one?
Oh, no, this might not go as well as I thought. All right, gentlemen. Well, let's get right to the draft. I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And away we go. So, with the first pick, we have Vince up. Now we get to see what... All right, Matt, what do you think about that first pick?
You know what? As shocking as it may come across, I think in these Scott Fishbowls, you have to differentiate your lineup. You have to do something that nobody else is going to do. And hey, Vince is doing something right now that nobody else is going to do. Not quite that Barkley type of a move, but Trey McBride at 101, it's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
I love the quote. Fantastic. All right. So, Doug, you took the second spot in the draft, and you went with Lamar Jackson. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I don't have a hell of a lot to say about it other than I think we're still on the upward curve as far as he's concerned. You got, I think, year 3 in the offense. You're upgrading the weapons. I talked about it in earlier on about having that rushing floor, about I just think he's on the upward curve. And I think the lowest Jackson has finished in the last 2 years is 6. I'm not quite sure about that, but among other things, I won't be getting Barkley in many drafts this year. I'm kind of out on Barkley, at least as far as I'm concerned right now. So anyway, I wanted that consistent anchor, and I think he's that.
Well, right after you took Lamar Jackson, the aforementioned Josh Allen went. I don't want to interrupt Jayson as he's starting to contemplate as he's on deck. But Jody, what do you think about Josh Allen in this format?
Oh, I agree with everything he said. It's a great pick. I'd have been happy to get him at 6, but I would prefer, honestly, to have the running backs fall in my lap. It looks like here at 6, that's what's going to happen. So I'm relatively happy there. But, in this format, it's only the 4 or 5 quarterbacks that we talked about at the top that you really want to target here. So obviously it makes sense to take them as early as possible. McBride pick was really interesting to start. It's a little bit different. I mean, he's a top 10 player in this format regardless, but you look at it, man, with the scoring, it's crazy. Just a little innocuous 10-yard catch for a tight end is like what, 5.5 points with all the bonus first downs, all that kind of stuff. So if Trey McBride, who's my number 1 tight end, by the way, if he continues with the volume that we've seen over the last couple of years, pick could pay off.
Well, your mouth to God's ears. Spides is up on the clock. Jayson is picking. Ryan Kirby, if you're out there, if you want to jump back in, they auto pick Joe Burrow. I don't know if I would go with Joe Burrow. No. Matt's shaking his head no vociferously.
It's a great pick. It's a great pick. It's a QB3, but not necessarily in this format.
Wow, Jameson Hutchinson got Lamar Jackson at pick 13 in the Cincinnati live draft he was in. Oh, there goes another one. Jayson, you ended up with Jalen Hurts, Mr. Consistency.
Well, JJ, just like me to reach on that, then Lamar too. Damn it. Yep, I can't be there.
So, Jody, you got Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were talking about wanting those running backs. Is that where you would have gone even if you were picking earlier?
Yes, he's my 101 in just about every format this year. He's my RB1. You read in the magazine that you just hyped up the reasons why, but he's easily my still number one running back. So in this format, so pretty pleased to see him fall to 6. I mean, I get it with quarterbacks, like I said, but obviously, it's going to be kind of a little punt for me at that position. So instead, I'll take my number one player.
All right, Bijan. Doug, what kind of upside do you see for Bijan this year?
Well, what you saw I think his upside is what you saw in the second half of last year. This felt like they finally committed to him. I would say you could slightly downgrade him a little bit because they lost center Drew Dolman, but I think be able to commit to him for a full year as opposed to just half the year, I think we have yet to see his ceiling. So I have no problem. I have no problem with Robinson going here. Probably should go as early as third or fourth. I could easily see that.
All right, let's see. Kyle, who will be coming on the pod shortly, is probably en route. He took Jayden Daniels. Does Jayden Daniels, Matt, belong in that top tier of quarterbacks you'd feel comfortable taking?
I think he's a good spot right there. You talk about these quarterbacks, these mobile quarterbacks. Every one of those touches, every one of those carries is going to add up. I think it's like 0.5, right, for a carry. So every time he scrambles, you're getting production, whether he gets a yard or not. And it's like a little joke I used to make when it came to PPR. I really hated PPR to a degree because it would reward guys for negative yardage. Well, you know what? If he runs and gets -2 yards, you're still looking at a positive when it comes to his overall rushing upside. So, yeah, I think Jay Daniels is right there. We're talking about volume, and volume's key.
All right. Oh, and then you went ahead and got Barkley after Sean took Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I mean, goes right back to the volume thing. I think these workhorse backs are just as valuable as these mobile quarterbacks in this setting. So I know there's a heavy volume when you talk about his regular season plus the playoffs and what that's going to look like moving forward. We've never seen guys get that kind of a workload and have success in year number 2 right after that year. But, hey, Barkley's just built differently. So I got no problem taking a shot here. I was looking at a couple other of the running backs in that spot, and I'm going to go heavy running back because I'm old. That's what we do. This is about I'm a dinosaur. I'm going to draft like a dinosaur.
Hey, Matt, what would be the priority level in terms of getting maybe Will Shipley or God forbid, A.J. Dillon?
If you're looking at one of them, it's going to be Will Shipley. I'm not a big I got enough thighs already with Saquon Barkley. I don't need any A.J. Dillon in my life right now. But he's that guy that you get in those later rounds. We talk about the one thing I don't think we talk enough about when we talk about the Scott Fishbowl is when you remove kickers, when you remove those kick returners, you're removing roughly 36 players from the pool here. So guys like Will Shipley, who you may have got in the 20th, 21st, 22nd round, they're going to get a bump up in value here because there's just not that same player pool. You're not getting a kicker in round 19, 20, 21 that you're going to be able to start. There was times last year at Scott Fishbowl where I started 3 kickers in my weekly lineup just because of the way the so
yeah,
those aren't going to be there. So you're going to have to get these so-called handcuffs to your running backs just to fill out a roster nicely.
So we are on a little bit of a running back run with Barkley. New England fan took Janty, followed by Dynasty Santa taking Gibbs. Finishing up. Oh, okay. So Seamonts went with, I guess, volume monsters, right? Jefferson and Neighbors. What do we think about that, Doug?
Well, I believe isn't Sleeper the one that rewards you for the targets?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if we're playing Sleeper, I'm not going to personally invest that heavily in alpha receivers, or at least top end alpha receivers. But good Lord, if you're one of those people like me who believes in receivers stay healthier longer than running backs, at least you should have at worst 2 of the top 5 receivers. That you should have 400 plus points out of both of those guys, and you should be able to count on that staying healthy from week 1 to week 17. So I'm good with that as long as they can stay healthy.
Is it? Hey, Doug, Jay, you guys refresh my memory. Is Sleeper the 2.5 yards or 2.5 points for reception, and NFL is the 1 and 1, right? One for
That is correct.
Correct. Yep.
And that makes a big difference. Like I did a write up here for Rotoballer, and you can see a guy like Malik Neighbors has more value when you add in the targets rather than just the receptions for some of these guys. Like there is a bit of a difference there where it kind of boosts guys up and whatnot. So, it looks like I'm on the clock. There we go. There we go. Let's go. Let's get a little freaky here. Let's get a little crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Dynasty Santa and Matt Donnelly are taking me back to the early 2000s, the early aughts, with double running back starts. Jayson, what do you think about Matt's start with Barkley and McCaffrey?
I love it. I think that's exactly where you have to be in this format. It's almost deceiving because you see the premiums on the receptions and you think workhorse backs may be devalued. But I mean, if you look at the breakdown of the actual statistics, I think 7 or 8 of my top 10 are running backs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to get both those guys who I'm also, if you look at like the potential bullpen behind them, they're not very impressive, which tells you their teams are going to lean very heavily on those two guys.
All right. Steve, Dynasty Santa, says old school. Now, Jody, you followed up your Bijan pick with Puka Nacua. Can you talk to me about that?
It was just I'm looking at wide receiver. I see a bunch of group and my personal rankings of running backs I like. I know they're going to make it another round or two, so I don't feel like I needed to jump. So I just wanted to secure a wide receiver. You know, you were just talking about the target bonus, and you know Nacua is going to be way up there in that every year. And go by with what Seamont did there at the turn. I kind of like it. It's a little contrarian for this format and what we've been talking about, but I mean, you're starting Justin Jefferson and Malik Neighbors, so many targets right there. So I mean, I kind of like it. That's what's going to be really important in all these Scott Fishbowl drafts is being able to be contrarian, being flexible with your draft, and not jumping the gun. Like I said, avoiding quarterbacks where you don't have to. This is good. This is the most excited I've been about a Scott Fishbowl draft in a long time, simply because of what's missing in the sense of I don't have to worry about losing a game because Kevontae Turpin scored 38 points on stupid kick return, or that Eddie Pinheiro scored a 53-yarder. So oh yeah, that's 10 points, or whatever it was. So now it's just straight knowledge and flexibility. So I feel like puts me to big advantage and really excited about it.
Now, Jayson, you followed up Jalen Hurts with Jonathan Taylor. Talk to me about Taylor's upside this year.
I think, if you look at the quarterback situation in Indianapolis, that tells me they're probably going to have to go to their run game pretty heavily. They're also probably somewhat weak on defense, which means they're probably going to try to control the clock and control the game and not let things get out of control. And obviously he's a stud. He's shown that he can be a league leader in terms of yardage. And it's not like a projection in terms of could this guy, A-Chain is a guy that just went there. That's more of a projection. We've never seen it out of him. I've seen Jonathan Taylor be a stud. So I'm psyched to get him in the second round there.
All right. Jody, Jameson jumped in and said he had to start Jermaine Burton the week after he was caught at the casino, hoping for return yards last year.
Jermaine Burton, that's a sore spot for me because I was so high on him in Dynasty, and the dude just disappeared. I actually, in my Dynasty leaves of Burton, I just cut bait with him. I know it feels like it's a bit early, but that's just how disenchanted I was with him after last year.
But Jody, he's having a great offseason. He's learned. He's matured. Man.
Yeah. I bet he has.
He's in the best shape of his life.
So he's not moving past Yoshi Vaz as the wide receiver 3. So now we're talking about at best wide receiver 4.
Right.
Ironically, JJ is also in the best shape of his life.
Whoa! Wait! How did I catch a stray? How dare you, Doug? I was going to ask you about Travis Hunter, but I guess I will.
No.
So talk to me about Hunter.
Okay, guys, this is all about the scoring setup, and I don't know in the real Scott Fish Bowl if I'm going to have the cojones to do this, but
The Stones.
the Stones. Okay, so I think we had Jim Coventry on last week, and I agree with him with Travis Hunter's offensive projection, something like 60 catches, 750 yards, somewhere in that neighborhood. But there's also the defensive component in this draft. There's also the tackles and the passes deflected and the potentially interceptions and whatnot. It's the great unknown with him, but if he's playing, let's say, I don't know, 60% of defensive snaps, there's a world in where I didn't sit down and do the math on it, but there's a world where I think he can score well over 400 points, despite being a 60 catch, 750 yard, 6 touchdown guy on offense.
All right.
Yeah, no, hey Doug, if you give him Josh Downs' floor as a wide receiver, and then you factor in what he on the defensive side with those interception points and this and that, you're talking about a top 15 scoring player altogether. And all he has to do is hit the Josh Downs floor. We're not asking for a whole heck of a lot here.
That's a great way to put it. And I don't think he even needs to be a full-time defensive player either, but that's just the bonus. So, yep. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
See, JJ, I do bring something to the show every once in a while.
Hey, I'm the one who invited you. Doug said, no, don't invite that Canadian guy.
I said he'd probably be running 10 minutes late, so, we're all right.
Oh, too soon. Too soon. All right, so where are we? Well, Donnelly and Santa literally are taking me back in time.
Please.
I feel like Marty McFly. So Santa went Gibbs, Henry, and Hall. Matt, you just went Barkley, CMC, and Kyron Williams. You're just how much longer are you going to keep this streak of running backs going?
One more round than Santa right now. I mean, that's kind of the goal now. We're in full like running back chicken mode right now. So as long as the running backs.
Oh, we're waiting on me.
There's only a handful of guys who are going to see 300 plus touches, and I think if you look at both mine and Santa, you got both teams are 300 plus touches here right now. There's some other guys I probably could have gone, but Josh Jacobs, he was in the conversation there with Kyron Williams. If Kyron Williams doesn't fumble the ball, I think he's in a good spot there with this Los Angeles Rams offense. I really like what the LA Rams are about to do this year.
Yeah, it is exciting. All the additions that they have made to that offense. I'm interested to see what McVay can do. Now, my buddy Sean is, as much as you're going old school, he's new wave. He's going 0 RB with Chase, Lamb, and London. Kind of like that start. What do you think about that, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. As I spoke about earlier, I mean, that's the beauty of these settings is that you don't really have to be beholden to any style or worry about a position. I mean, if you guys got guys that are going to produce, you snatch them up. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Now, you went ahead, Jason, and you took Alvin Kamara. Any concerns about the New Orleans offense as a whole affecting him this year?
Yeah, I do. But I think that's kind of built into why you're getting him in the third round instead of the first or the second round. Obviously, he's not the player that he once was, but I think much like the conversation that I brought about Jonathan Taylor, I think his offense by default is going to have to be built around him, which may not be great for the NFL team, but I think is likely to be great for fantasy, especially in these settings.
All right. Well, Doug is making a pick. Jody, you want to talk to me about Josh Jacobs?
Volume. That's what it is. Overall, he's a top 10 running back in, PPR, half PPR, whatever format you're looking at. So, in this format, he came up as a top 12, top 13 player per my projections. So for me to get him in round 3, lock it up. I mean, He's a guy like in regular PPR drafts and all that. I think I thought I'll probably end up fading this year. He's not a guy I'm going out of my way to target, but in this format, like I said, he came up top 12, top 13 somewhere, and that my projection. So to get him as your RB2, fire it up.
All right. Dynasty Santa says, I worry about Jacobs' repeat volume with a healthy Love and passing game. I think he's the only consistent one you can count on in that offense besides Love. What did I say about? Oh, I was on with Drew, and I said their wide receiver core in Green Bay feels like when you open up your drawer of silverware at home, and you see all your spoons, and you have all the different kinds of spoons that you've collected over the years, but they're all just spoons. I feel like that's what the wide receivers in Green Bay are, right? Like, I don't care which one you grab, it's all going to be the same thing in the end, right? Disappointment. No, I'm alone there. Hello, is this thing on?
No, I would agree with you. I think, they have, it's like that old cliche about the quarterbacks when you have if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. It's the same kind of thing, mentality with the receiving group. They're all kind of equal, I think, in terms of talent. And I think they're hoping that one of them or two of them rise to the surface. But do you want to take that gamble in the third or fourth round in a fantasy draft? I don't.
No, either do I. Now, Doug, interesting pick for me with Omarion Hampton going.
Yeah.
You're higher on him than most people. Tell me why.
Well, talent tends to win out in the end. And that's not to say that Najee isn't talented. It's not to say that he's not going to be a consistent thorn in Hampton's side. But one of the things I wrote in my preview is I don't mind reaching a little bit on a guy like Hampton because I think he's going to end up being a second half kind of guy. And in a Scott Fish Bowl tournament style, you want those guys who are coming on in the second half. So, I'm not crazy that I wish I could have waited another round on him, but I also didn't want to miss out on that perceived second half explosion that I do expect from him. So, I love the offensive line that he's going to be running behind. I love the scheme that he's going to be running in. And that defense should be better. So there should be more opportunity for him. The Chargers should be able to run the ball more often. So all of that, I think, kind of works together.
Personally, I can never wait for the second half for my explosion, but that's a whole different conversation. Jody.
Is this thing on?
I don't know here. This is a tough crowd. Talk amongst yourself.
Trying to multitask here, scratching names off my list as we're going, all that. So
that's why I never actually do the mock. I just talk while you guys are doing all the hard work.
You get the easy job.
The easiest job in the business, to sit opposite of Doug and look smart.
Wow. Is this thing on? Is that really?
Fired.
All right, so we
did say tomfoolery. We did say tomfoolery, didn't we?
This is the tomfoolery they asked for. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at Michael Houff's draft, the FF Real List. I'm excited that he took Garrett Wilson. I'm surprised Wilson fell that far. I know most people wouldn't be, but I really like his upside as far as target volume this year. Now, Matt, you blinked. You blinked.
No, I went past Dynasty Santa. He went first, so I decided to go.
Okay. So you took Kenneth Walker, then he took Prescott. So you felt that it was okay.
Absolutely. I got what I needed. Plus, I got a tight end in the tight end premium. I can't really go wrong there.
No, you can't go wrong. I mean, they catch a pass, it's 3.5 points. Even if they don't get any yards, it's not too bad. Now, Sean is continuing his all wide receiver draft, adding Adams and Evans. Who took Nakua? That was Jody, right? In the second round?
Yes.
Are you concerned at all about Devontae Adams eating into Nakua's target share?
No, there'll be enough volume. Nobody else on that team's going to catch any passes. Oh, Kyron Williams will catch a handful of them, but they don't have a tight end anymore. They got rid of their wide receiver 3. Yep, they'll be fine. He'll be fine.
All right. Jason, you just went with your first tight end, TJ Hawkinson. Lots of people with high hopes for Hawk being a year off of his ACL injury. What are your thoughts about him in this Vikings offense?
Yeah, I think he started to finally look like himself in the last, 4 to 6 games of the season last year. It was a long road. It was a pretty gruesome injury, and it occurred pretty close to the end of the 23 season. I don't even remember that. That was either the last week of the regular season or even in a playoff game. I'm not sure, but the recovery time was very narrow in terms of the summer and coming back. And so, that's the normal progression for that type of injury. It takes a while for those guys to get their footing back and get used to contact again. And like I said, I think he started to show what we were used to seeing out of him. And I'm excited to see, what he can do in that offense. That offense put up a lot of points last year with with Darnold, who, everybody was ready to write off in terms of the NFL world. And now they have an emerging rookie. So we'll see where they go from here. But I think the sky's the limit for them, especially in the tight end premium, like we were talking about earlier.
All right. Lou Brunson says, all hail the silo offense of the LA Rams. Definitely going to be focused this year. All right. So we just started the 6th round. We had a couple rookies running backs go at this turn. We had Trevion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Quinshon Judkins. Of those 3, who are you the most excited about, Matt?
Sorry, it's probably Henderson when I look at the rookie class, just with the PPR aspect, the pass catching, the efficiency that we saw at Ohio State, the explosiveness. You put those all in together. He's probably the best when it comes to pass pro as well, so he's going to get on the field for that. And it's Ramondre Stevenson that's with him in the backfield. We've seen Ramondre kind of falter down the stretch. So I would have to go with Trevion Henderson there as my favorite rookie. Judkins, he's sneaky there because Chubb is gone. He's dealing with like a Jerome Ford. He's going to have his opportunity behind probably a slightly better offensive line than New England. New England did rebolster that offensive line, especially the interior here this offseason. So Judkins does have an opportunity to produce, but I'll take the whole Drake back really run and create over what the situation is that Judkins has.
All right. Now, Doug, you made my little Jets heart beat. Talk to me about Justin Fields.
Well, again, kind of going back to what we talked about in the open, having those mobile or those highly athletic quarterbacks that can potentially run for one. In Lamar Jackson's case, 800 to 900 yards. We've already seen Fields go over 1,000. Actually, I think we saw Lamar Jackson go over 1,000. But we're talking about the rushing upside. I know that we're not in for 30 touchdowns, and with Fields, it's going to be a run-based offense, but that's part of the charm. Again, we're wanting that rushing upside. So, and I think Garrett Wilson's going to have a big year, but what now? What now? Oh, Michael. But yeah, I can't. The rounds 2 through 5 were not what I expected, but I couldn't have asked for better than going in a super flex where you can start 2 quarterbacks. I couldn't have asked better than to have a couple 1,000-yard rushing threats in the 2 quarterbacks that I have.
All right. Looking at some conversation in the comments about Fields. Greg asks, any worried about Fields getting benched because he can't win games? Well, Taylor's not winning any games either, so might as well keep Fields in there. Lou said that Fields may not be a great NFL QB, but he's never been bad for fantasy, and that he'll get the job done for us. He says us, but I think he just means his fantasy managers. He can't be a Jets fan. Nobody else.
Nobody else is, yeah. Yeah, nobody else is. Yeah, totally agree.
You're the worst, Doug. You're the worst, Doug. Oh, you're terrible. All right. So Jody just took Caleb Johnson, another rookie. Now you're avoiding quarterbacks completely. Do you think that there's any point, Jody, where you'll be taking a quarterback in this draft?
Fields was interesting here. It's a gamble for reasons you guys just mentioned. Obviously, the upside with him is the rushing ability, but the downside is that he's never really proven himself as a passer. And could he get benched, especially with a defensive-minded coach? It's a concern for me. However, in this format, in all honesty, Fields gets up there. He's well within top 10 range when you look at the rushing first down bonuses. So it's worth gambling, obviously, especially in a format when you don't even have to start him. So if Justin Fields does get benched, I'm assuming that All Out Blitz will have another quarterback to go with. But if that's the case, hey, you know what? That's the cool thing about this format. Like, oh, my quarterback got benched, or I drafted 2 quarterbacks on the same bye week. Hey, no problem. I'll just slide in, Will Shipley, like you guys mentioned earlier, or like I said, just be thankful. Thank you, Scott, once again, that I don't have to slide in Eddie Pinheiro or anybody like that, because I don't know who that was. Was that you, Doug, earlier, who mentioned, or maybe it was you, Matt? You mentioned at one point you were starting 3 kickers a week, and
Yeah.
yes, that's what
I think it was Matt.
In all honesty, I am so busy during the week with my normal job duties that I often neglect being able to be aggressive enough on waivers. I just don't have the time to do it, especially when I get more every year. I get in more and more leagues, and so I do a lousy job, keeping my team maintained. It's not an excuse, but it's just the truth. And so I would miss out often on waivers. So yeah, I would have to resort to starting kickers. Let me tell you, it wasn't fun.
Well, Carla told me to not bother. Wait, I'm not sure where the comma is. She's not an English teacher. So I don't know, like, don't bother, and then called me Babe JJ. Or she doesn't want me to bother her babe. Maybe that's it.
She's a good friend of yours, so however that works out better for you, I think. That's...
All right, Matt, you went ahead and drafted Caleb Williams. Now, people are kind of torn on him. Where, obviously, you like him, but is it just a format thing?
It's a format thing. It came down to him and Drake May there, just to kind of get a quarterback plugged in there for the points. I do like the weapons there in Chicago, from top to bottom, with the addition of Bird into that. So, I mean, we look at all these things here, and it's just, I feel good enough about him when looking at the other options on the board. Nothing really like stood out like, hey, this is the guy you're going to have to draft. So it's just basically plugging a hole at this point. I feel there's enough upside throughout the lineup to get to the quarterback position here in round number 6 to take that first one. I was thinking about playing QB chicken with Jody there as well, but I felt the value was kind of good enough. I wanted Metcalf here with that pick. He went right before me, so that kind of affected the thought process a little bit.
All right. Well, you're going to be up again in a minute. You taking Caleb over Drake May probably made New England fan happy, as he got Drake May with the very next pick. Santa took Pickens and Waddle. He's definitely broken the streak of running backs now. Now Sean is coming up. He is all wide receivers. What is the drawback, Jody, to going all wide receivers, do you think? Is there one?
Not really. I mean, in a league that's all flex, they generally stay healthier than running backs. So, being contrarian in this format just might be the thing that gives you the edge. I honestly expected, when this draft started, I figured at least 4 of my top 5 picks would be running backs. But in fact, here we are, 3 of my top 5 picks were wide receivers. So it was just an issue of the way it fell in front of me. You guys are scooping up a lot of the, guys that I thought like, oh man, I'll sneak this by them. And it's a well-prepared room. And as we've talked about several times throughout this tonight, you have to be prepared to pivot very often, and especially in a format like this when it really is best available players, and we're all kind of looking at the same thing. So it's up to you to kind of create your own rankings and change things versus the consensus. And what you're seeing here is it's a little wild, but you know, I'm happy with the way my team has played out, but it's not what I was expecting.
Now, how many of us are drafting in a live league? I'm in a live draft. Doug, you are, correct?
I am, yes.
Jody is. Jayson? Yep.
I'm not, no.
And Matt, you are not. Sorry, I know you're coming up on the clock or just picked. Do you see that as a benefit to not being live, that you do get that extra time to, you know, when things start going sideways, Jayson, that you're able to sit back, recalibrate, take your time, and re-strategize?
Yeah, I think all of the things that you just mentioned, and on top of that, when you get into your league chats, you kind of get a little bit of a vibe. You get a little conversation going. Sometimes people tip their hand as to where they're headed. You don't get that in, you know, when the bullets are flying and you're in live mode. So I think that's, as much as everything that you mentioned, even more so is just the ability to talk through it with people and kind of get a feel for where they are. Sorry, I'm drafting and talking at the same time,
You got
which is not easy. But I also think, just to kind of build on the conversation from just a minute ago about being prepared, I definitely think, especially given the flexibility, as Jody was talking about, it's uber important this year to be prepared, trust your board. And I think if you are that, you will really be able to take advantage of some league mates that may be more reliant on, say, the ADP in Sleeper or MFL, depending on what platform you're using, because that ADP is going to be nowhere near compatible with these settings. And if people just go, oh, what are the next 10 on the board? I'll just grab this guy. They're going to miss out on some tremendous values that you can take advantage of. It's just a matter of going in with a board that you're confident in.
I love that you said that, and your pick of Chris Godwin. We had Jim Coventry on last weekend. He was talking about how much more Godwin was targeted by Mayfield in games that he and Evans both played.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people are undervaluing Godwin as compared to Evans this year?
Yeah, I do. And I think especially maybe the dynasty crowd, because they see the shiny new toy in the first round pick that Tampa Bay just acquired in Igbuka, and they think that Godwin's just going to get phased out. They see the injury last year and they figure, well, this is the changing of the guard. And from everything that I've read, I don't think Tampa Bay views it that way. I think they intend for Godwin to be front and center. I think he's going to be an important cog in that offense. And I do feel like there's some chatter that he's ready for week 1. And I think at worst, week 3, 4, something like that. So, Doug was talking about being hot down the stretch. I think Godwin's primed to be exactly that type of player.
All right. Jody, now you went with DeAndre Swift. Do you have any concerns that Ben Johnson chased him out of Detroit and now they're together again?
Oh, he's it's an attrition issue right now. Tell me, I like Roschon Johnson as much as the next guy. Matter of fact, I put a tweet out earlier telling people to shut up about Roschon Johnson. Right now, find somebody that's going to take the carries away. If Ben Johnson has an offense that that we've seen out of him in Detroit, it's high volume as is, and people sleep on Swift acting like he was trash. Or was he RB 16 or 18 last year? And its numbers overall aren't impressive, but he catches a ton of passes. He stays on the field, and like I said, as of right now, there's not anyone who's going to take carries from him. So he's one of my favorite RB3s that I've been grabbing in drafts this year. So I was able to get him here as my RB4. Happy to do that.
Fantastic stuff. Doug, looking at you, your last 2 picks, Evan Engram, Rome Odunze. What is your thought process with Rome? You think he's going to garner enough targets?
Yeah, I think whereas last year it was basically DJ Moore on the screen or bust for that passing game. We know that Chicago's improved that offensive line. I think we know that with an improved offensive line, Caleb Williams will probably be more likely to take more shots downfield. But let's not just pigeonhole Odunze as being a downfield receiver either. I think you'll see a more varied route tree from Odunze, and I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to be the 1A or even 1B with DJ Moore. I think that's still DJ Moore's gig, or at least the top wide receiver one duties. But I'd honestly be surprised if he's not a 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard, 6 to 8 touchdown kind of guy this year.
Love to hear that. Jayson went with Diggs. I'm assuming because if he is healthy and if he is playing, he will be a high volume receiver in New England.
Yeah, as long as he can stay off the boat, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah,
I don't like the extracurriculars, but we just talked about Drake May a couple rounds ago, and if Drake May is going to be what everybody projects that he's going to be, he's got to have a number one receiver, and I think that's obviously what Diggs was brought in to be. So, if you're a believer in May, then you should be a believer in Diggs, because I don't think it works any other way.
All right. Greg Kellogg is asking, who is Chicago's slot receiver?
Well, I'll chime in. I'll chime in here if you don't mind, JJ.
Sure.
I think we're looking at 12 personnel. To answer his question, I think it's going to be Burden, but I think we're looking at Burden being maybe a 50% snap kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a world where Colston Loveland takes slot duties, honestly, because if they're going to be a 12 personnel, primarily 12 personnel team, or at least heavy 12 personnel team, I think Loveland makes the most sense as the quote unquote primary slot. Although I think Odunze and Ward will work out of the slot, 10-20% as well.
100% agree with Doug on that.
Yeah, when we talked to Jim last week, there's going to be a ton of Komet and Loveland on the field at the same time. It's how he likes to run his offense. So I'm excited to see what happens there. Do you think Burden will get enough volume, Jody, to be now not necessarily in Scott Fishbowl, but we can talk about that as well. But in a regular redraft lead, are you taking Luther Burden anywhere?
Yeah, I'm taking some shots on him, but you're looking at a wide receiver 5, a wide receiver 6. At that point, you've already filled out your lineup, hopefully, and now you're just looking for upside depth, taking shots on guys. He was great in college out of the slot. I think he's a good fit there, but for the exact reasons that Doug was just saying, I believe they're going to run a ton of 12 personnel, which is good for Cole Kmet because he's pretty much going undrafted in most leagues. So if you're looking for tight end depth, he's cheap. You can get him around 20 or whatever the final round is. And, if they do utilize 12 sets as much as we're thinking, then he's going to see a handful of targets.
Does Komet kind of become analogous to Dawson Knox up in Buffalo? Is that what he becomes now?
I think he'll get a little more volume than that, but yeah,
okay.
You need a touchdown or nothing.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think he could still be an end zone threat, but I don't know that he gets the volume. Obviously not that he used to get. So I wonder if it impacts both he and Loveland, because Kincaid was the victim of. Everybody thought Kincaid would just come on the scene and be, God's gift, and they both kind of were middling because they're cannibalizing from each other.
All right, looking at the draft, we are now entering the 9th round. I have not been updating the timestamps. That is my fault. Sorry. Sorry, watchers who are going to watch a little bit later.
You're not even drafting JJ. Come on, man. Be better.
I try to be better. Thank you, Matt, for pushing me to be a better version of myself.
As I record off my iPhone.
Matt, as JJ's tag team partner, I should give him some shade and we'll cover him, but your criticism is well founded. So continue.
Dear Lord, Lou Brunson says Komet was also a check down machine for Fields when he broke out. I thought he looked a lot better in 24 athletically, but the offense itself was terrible. Tough to project him being significant. That's fair. Greg, JJ McCarthy finally went 9th round to Dynasty Santa, combining him, stacking him, as they say, with Jordan Addison. Any concerns about Addison missing significant time this year? Anyone? I know Drew's not on the podcast.
Any concern with who missing time? Sorry.
Thanks for paying attention. Jordan Addison. He's a wide receiver on the Minnesota Vikings.
Without question.
I thought you knew ball.
Wow. Man.
Without question, I think there's major concern. But if he's missing the first 4 games, that's before the bye, so you can probably take it. You can probably take the hit a little bit more than if it was more of a mid-season suspension. Yeah, I think his court date's coming up on the middle of July.
We should have some idea before draft season really kicks off. At least there should be some resolution, we're hoping. But Drew Davenport should keep us updated on that, right?
Absolutely. Join his Patreon and you get the first look at all of his legal updates. That's a little plug for you, Drew.
Nicely.
Lou says that he's enjoying the absolute silence at his comments. Now you know how I feel. Try hosting a pod with these guys.
Wow.
It's a rough crowd.
We're serious footballers here. We don't have time for shenanigans.
Yeah.
There is always time for shenanigans.
Be better, JJ. Be better, JJ.
Oh, you're just going to copy Matt Donnelly now? You only wish you looked as handsome as that guy. Look at him. Look at him.
We all pale in comparison to Donnelly. That goes without saying.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this, but I've upgraded from the iPhone. It took me 56 minutes to get my computer up and running, but we are up and running. I didn't even time out once.
That is impressive. Now, you still use those AOL CDs that we used to get in the mail, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's just coming to Canada right now. Like we've waited this long, it just came in. Did you know you can get 10 CDs for a penny?
Whoa!
Oh man!
Columbia House. Yeah,
I love Canada.
Hey, Bruce Willis was dead the whole time in Sixth Sense. Sorry, I don't know if you saw that movie yet.
Hey,
Spoiler alert.
I should have warned that. All right, where are we going? Jody Smith took Jennings. Yeah. I know, Doug, you like Jennings.
I do. More from we've been talking about it from a dynasty perspective. What, round 9, round 10? Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it here. I think he ends up leading that team in receptions. Maybe I'm way off there, but Ayuk, I don't think is going to come back healthy. I don't think we can count on Ayuk doing Ayuk things until maybe November, December.
Yeah.
Pearsall, to me, is a complete wild card. I think it's between Kittle and Jennings for not wide receiver 1, but team lead in receptions. You agree, Jody?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think they're saying now that Shanahan was saying he's expecting Ayuk to open a season on the PUP list, which will leave him out for the first month of the year. So at that point, we saw what Jennings could do, last year in that role as their lead guy, and yeah, I think that's going to carry over. Pearsall is the kind of the wild card, like you just said, in the mix, but it feels like around dynasty circles, like his value so high right now. Like Pearsall gets drafted 2 or 3 rounds higher than I would draft him, like in every draft. So I've just come to the realization that, except for the dynasty shares that I accumulated last year, I'm not going to have Pearsall on too many teams this year.
Yep, I'm aboard there.
While Seamonts actually took care of that problem by taking both Pearsall and Ayuk. So we have a lot of 49ers go at this point.
I didn't even realize that. How did I get Jennings as their number 1, as the 3rd receiver taken from the team?
Well, 4th if you count Kittle going in the 3rd round.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Indeed. All right, FF Realist. I don't think he took Golden. I would hope not. Sorry, Sniper Mel. Don't think Golden's going to do too much this year. Anybody high on Golden? Yeah, I didn't think so.
There's a little bit legitimate chance he's their number one. I mean, we're all been waiting for 22 years for them to take a wide receiver. So in the first round, so there's a legit chance. But the Green Bay, like right now, Josh Jacobs, as we mentioned way earlier, is about the most reliable guy in that team. Because other than that, we don't know where the targets are going. What are we doing at quarterback?
Sorry about that. I was trying to update a timestamp. I was trying to be better.
Oh, yeah.
As a lot of people on here are encouraging me to do.
And I'm on the clock, so I can't talk either or talk much.
Oh, that's never stopped you before.
Wow.
My loquacious Lothario friend.
Oh, boy.
All right. So let's see what Doug's going to do. And let's all make fun of Doug's pick when it does happen.
You could, but you would be wrong.
Uh-oh.
I think I'm drafting all the guys I've been trading for in my dynasty leagues. I think that's what's going on right now.
Oh, there goes Tucker Kraft. Sniper Mel. Let me just scroll back up. There we go. No one took Kraft at 9 o'clock. 9:04 Kraft. Just a couple minutes early. Waha.
Oh.
Look at thank you very much, Lou.
Lou's coming after the king, isn't he? Okay, Lou. Okay.
No, he was talking to you, Doug. The jester. The jester. Sniper Mel.
I'm here for you, Mel. I am here for you.
Yeah,
Man, Jayson, that is the pick in this league that if he plays like everybody wanted him to play, could be a league winner, right? Anthony Richardson in the 10th round.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's a risk for sure, but like in the 10th, I'm willing to take that risk there. The guy was a first, maybe a second round pick last season already, and he's just fallen, into the great beyond in terms of people's value. In these scoring settings with running quarterbacks being valued so highly, and with their game scripts likely requiring a lot of offense to stay relevant, yeah, I'll take him there.
All right, so Anthony Richardson's off the board, followed by Trevor Lawrence, who I have mixed feelings about. There goes Najee Harris. Najee Harris is going 6.5 rounds after his backfield mate, Omarion Hampton. Doug, what do you see that split? Oh, Matt, actually, let's forget Doug. Nobody wants to hear from him. Matt, what do you see the backfield split being between those two?
I think we're going to see a lot more Najee Harris than people who drafted Omarion Hampton want to see right off the get-go. I think there's going to be a commitment to Najee Harris in year number one. Harbaugh's going to run him down. They're going to kind of preserve Hampton a little bit. They're going to try and get the best return on their investment. They're going to protect their investment in year one and get him a settlement here with the whole league and whatnot. So I would expect Najee to actually out-carry, maybe not out-touch, but out-carry Hampton in year number one. You look at the body of work, what Harris has done. Like, we got to put some respect on this guy's name. I know he's a good whipping boy for fantasy, but all the dude does is stay healthy, play 17 games, and rush for 1,000 yards. That's been his MO since entering the league. And I'm not going to say he's going to be a top 15 running back this year, but I'm not going to put it out of the possibilities either. With Jim Harbaugh there kind of calling shots in Los Angeles, he wants to run the ball. And I think this is one of those teams we're going to see a lot more Najee Harris, maybe a 60-40, 55-45 type split in favor of Harris here, especially early on in the season.
All right. Well, Diehards, let's be honest. Dynasty leagues are where the real fantasy legends are made. Redraft is fun, sure. But Dynasty, that's for the Diehards. The Dynasty Football World Championships are back for their 13th season. And this is your chance to build your squad from the ground up and chase the crown. Whether you're a savvy vet or a startup junkie, there's a league waiting for you. Drafts start at just $75 with higher stakes options available. Visit dynastyking.com and search for the Dynasty Football World Championship. Your Dynasty glory starts today. All right.
Well, I just wanted to jump on Matt's point there because I think he's completely right. I think the risk or the gamble that you're taking in the Los Angeles Chargers backfield is I think we know that the Hampton takeover is going to happen. You just don't know if it's going to happen in October, November, or 2026. And I can see a scenario in which I don't see Harris out carrying. I don't see Harris out carrying or out touching Hampton, but I see a scenario in which Hampton tops out around 200 carries and Harris gets 170. So and that's not what any of us are looking for. But I can see that scenario. I also think that team's going to run the hell out of that ball too. So there's that too.
Yeah, Lou, I tend to agree with you. Jim said something similar last week that Najee Harris is somebody who fantasy players may not like, but football coaches love. He's always getting positive yards, although it's not a lot. He still gets those yards for you. All right, let's take a look and see what's going on down here. We have Geno Smith going off the board. Yeah. Jody went back-to-back QBs. Wait, why are we all laughing about Geno Smith going off the board, Doug?
My ragtag tandem of lesser QB2s that I'm going to have to. Well, again, in this format, I don't have to necessarily start either one of them. So
you don't have to start either of them, or you can start both. If you're feeling froggish, Jody,
do that.
Hop.
Might just reach out to you that we can ask you what you're thinking, how you feeling.
Hey, you know what? You can find me every Wednesday on the Football Diehards pod right here on this channel, 8 p.m. Me and Doug Orth, the fantasy orthical himself, or at least until we have a major blow up because he insulted me too much.
Yeah, I'm probably hitting my quota, so yeah, I better back off.
It's just a matter of time.
It's a combustible relationship. Yeah, definitely.
Wow, you are literally taking every player you talk about on the podcast. There goes Jordan Mason.
I am.
Trey Benson, back-to-back, your two guys. And Carla. Don't forget about Carla, JJ. I could never forget about Carla. Oh, sorry. Sniper Mel told me not to forget about Carla. That's who was talking there. All right, gentlemen. Well, we have hit the 1 hour. I don't mind staying on here and talking with you guys as you draft. But if anybody has to go, if it's past your bedtime, if you have to go out and watch the ice rink, whatever you have to do, feel free. Don't feel pressured to stay on the pod. I'm going to let this roll for a little bit, though.
Let her go, baby. Let's go. It's only 7 o'clock here. This is what I love of being on the West.
I got
only 7 o'clock.
All right. Jody's got a few more in him. I've heard that many times at the Doubletree bar.
Is it high?
And then 2 hours later, we're at George's.
That's for sure.
Hey, can we pour one out for Samantha's right now while we're on air?
Yeah.
Wait, did Doug just quit?
He just took off. I mean,
he said he could go. He's gone.
I did say he could go. That was my fault.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, let's pour one out for Samantha's. I know they have a different location, but God, I love that place.
I'm not a breakfast guy, but I actually would eat breakfast with you guys at that place every time that we're there. So yeah,
that's just because you wanted the fruit cup for your macros.
That's true.
Fruit cups.
Fruit cups around. Greg Kellogg is asking about Tesla, the Detroit rookie wide receiver. Anybody have a strong opinion either way on him?
Kind of like the size. It feels like there's not a lot as I'm drafting. There's not a lot of competition with what Tim Patrick and what's the other kid? He's not a kid. Can't even think. I think he's got a legitimate chance of winning the number 3 receiver job out this summer. And we have to, keep in mind that Detroit's offense is going to change a little bit since you lost your offensive coordinator to Chicago. So, he's a guy that's worth taking a stab really late in drafts, but you can typically get him in 4th to 5th round of a lot of dynasty drafts.
You're not talking about Tim Patrick, are you?
No, Tim Patrick is the guy who's the favorite to probably be the number 3 now. Tesla will compete with him, and he returns kicks for him, and I don't know why I can't think of his name.
Because he's not very good.
Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, you got it.
All right.
You guys realize Wan'Dale Robinson had 140 targets last year, right? Am I crazy here to watch him drop to the 12th round in a volume-based league right now? 140 targets. We're talking about a guy.
But I literally have never seen a wide receiver have less yards than targets in a game like he does. I know, but I think there's something that watching that happen week after week kind of broke my brain. Hey, everybody, Bob Harris is here. Hey, Bob.
Bob, I see you. I'm not doing a good job keeping my checklist cleared. Keep wanting to draft guys that are gone 4 rounds ago.
But I appreciate you not asking if Saquon Barkley has already been drafted. That always is a little awkward. All right, let's take a look at Jayson's draft. He went with Richardson and Stafford, with Eckler in between. So 3 quarterbacks. So you're a pretty balanced team. This looks like a standard redraft team.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some of your highlights?
I think, I feel like I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but I'm really going best player available. I'm going for upside, and I'm going for consistency when I can find it. I know Stafford has had injuries, but we had a conversation earlier in this pod about how the Rams offense looks like it's ready to go nuclear this year. What does that all surrounds Matt Stafford? So if it is indeed going to explode, he's going to be a valuable piece of that. So in the 12th round, I'm happy to get him. I think there's probably some other players that may outscore him on a week-to-week basis, but he gives me pretty decent confidence plugging him into my lineup that he's got a floor that I can live with.
All right. Matt, you went with Jaden Reed and Wan'Dale. Talk to me a little bit about your team so far.
I'm kind of digging it on a volume point of view here. Wan'Dale Robinson, not sexy, not what you want, but hey, the targets are going to be there. Jaden Reed, we saw what he could be out there. We also know that we don't know anything about this Green Bay Packers offense right now. We don't know who the number 1, the number 2, even the number 3. Throw Dontavian Wicks into the whole equation too. We don't know how it's going to play out there after Tucker Kraft or Josh Jacobs. We know Josh Jacobs, and I got Jordan Love. So I was like, hey, you know what? Let's do a little stacking here while we're at it. So we had Jordan Love. We got Jaden Reed, who some may presume is the number 1. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Let's see what happens here throughout the summer, see what happens through training camp and whatnot. But I mean, when you talk about value, 11th round, I feel pretty good. Again, it's not a guy you have to start, right? I think Jody said it. He doesn't have to start a second quarterback. Well, I don't have to start a second wide receiver either. So I feel pretty good about that. And now I'm just kind of going for swing for the fence kind of guy. And I'm going to kind of go Jaden Reed. I'm going to follow that up with Wan'Dale Robinson. And then I'm going to go with one of my guys that hasn't really done anything as of yet, but he's in a position in an offense that could be good. You're looking here in the 12th round and go with some Hollywood Brown. So Jayson just talked about upside. We haven't seen it with Hollywood Brown, but we know if he's healthy, he's one of the best at getting – he's not just a deep ball guy. He's more than speed. He actually does very well in those intermediate routes. And if you got a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes that can scramble, move around, he could be that guy who's going to cash in on those intermediate routes. Travis Kelce didn't quite get going there towards the end of last year. So Rashee Rice getting all the volume early on. They had a plan for Hollywood Brown last year. They brought him in for a reason. They're bringing him back again this season for a reason, to try and go back to that plan. I'm interested to see what it is. And as wide receiver 4, round number 13, you can't really go wrong, right? This is where I'd be taking kickers last year, right? So, I mean, let's see what happens here and see what the plan was for Hollywood Brown.
Last year, I might have taken my third kicker by this point. All right, let's take a look. All right, Doug just texted me. He said he lost all power at his house.
Amateur move. There's cell phones, Doug. There's cell phones, buddy.
Set up a cell phone in the dungeon like Matt did.
Yeah, be better, Doug. Be better. If I may.
Not even here to defend himself. Wow, cold.
That's the best time to pick on Doug, when he's not around. All right, Jody, you're now leaning into tight end with Pat Freiermuth, Zach Ertz.
Well, at this point, it's almost time to start swinging, taking some swings on guys. But this, to me, the last 2 tight ends I took in this particular format, it's values. This is not upside guys. These are guys that by my personal numbers are, top 10, top 12 players at the position that are fallen. Like, nobody wants anything to do with Zach Ertz this year, which was kind of curious after he re-signed and had such a good year last year. But I guess it's, just people being wary of the age, but I'll keep taking some shots. And normally I'm a weighted tight end guy. I'm not one who ever likes my builds when I take tight ends early. Exceptions can be made for McBride and Bowers this year, but like I said, for years now, every time I take a tight end, like for instance, last year I built some Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes teams. Unfortunately, I couldn't have picked a worse year to finally get the opportunity to do that. And, obviously that didn't work out so great in some of those leagues. So that's going to lean me towards looking at these kind of guys late in drafts. And I'm happy to do it, especially in this format. Like I said, like we've all said, you don't have to actually start tight ends, but at this point, it's the double tight end bonus. Start adding up after a while. And with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, I like Pat Freiermuth.
I just want to correct you, Jody, on one thing. It's not that nobody is interested in Zach Ertz. This guy right behind you was interested in Zach Ertz, and you sniped him right before. That's exactly where I was going, for all the same reasons you just enumerated. So that's a great pick as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you got Dobbins though. That's nice.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as a consolation prize.
In the 13th round, that's
exactly.
That. Considering RJ Harvey went in the 5th.
Like I said, I've done such a terrible job keeping up with who's been drafted at this point. Now it's like, okay, I can't catch up anymore. So I'm just going to stop using the strikeout feature here on my spreadsheet and just roll with it.
It's kind of where I am too. Yeah.
So I will say this, JJ, if I may. If you're doing an online draft, and this is where we talk about the live draft versus the online draft. Sleeper's not sponsoring the show in any way, shape, or form, are they?
They are not.
I hate Sleeper. Like, I can't stand it. I really can't. Why is that? Because I'm looking at the thing here, and you mentioned guys like Zach Ertz and this and that. Well, the way we've got this set up, the way Scott Fish is going to have it set up, because everyone's a flex option, is it's in an order. Right? It's in a specific order. You don't have that option of sliding over to running back, sliding over to wide receivers, sliding over to tight ends, and players are going to get missed. So if you go into your online draft and you don't have your queue set up on guys that are out there, they're going to get missed. Like, there's guys who are sliding through. Zach Ertz, a great example. Probably should have gone a couple rounds earlier. He was down on the chart because it's based on Sleeper's ADP, not Scott Fishbowl projections, none of this kind of stuff. And you can't move over to tight end to see who's available at the tight end position, even when tight ends score as high as they do. So one of those things, keep in mind, if you're drafting online, it's going to be set up as flex options, not by position.
Yep.
And now I got to figure out what
as soon as we loaded up, I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. I'm glad I made a spreadsheet, because that would be tough.
Wow, that's the first time I'm hearing that. I do not like that. I'm definitely an MFL truther. Although most of my leagues are leaving MFL because it's so damn expensive. But
you get those comp leagues. You gotta get those comp leagues, JJ. Go and talk to MFL. Say you're a big fan. Talk to them. Get in their DMs. Message them. Yeah, say it's for whatever reason. Maybe you get a comp out of the deal. You show a little bit of love there.
Tell them Matt sent you.
Matt sent me.
Hmm? Or Bill Matt.
Oh, that is true. You'd pay for me, right?
Absolutely. You know, I'm sure they take Canadian.
I mean, honestly, you have how many kids? I could just slide into that family picture. Nobody would even notice me.
Right now, with all the hockey fees that are coming out right now, I think we've dropped. Oh, you don't even want to know what we've got going on with hockey fees this summer.
I am interested. How much are you spending in hockey fees?
So for my youngest, for goaltending sessions alone, I think we've dropped about $5,000.
Oh man.
Just for goaltending off-season training between hockey camps and whatnot. That's not even counting the registration fee going into next year. That's not counting travel hockey. I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere in Alberta. Everything's travel hockey up here, but you know, so yeah. And then my daughter, she's looking at playing AA hockey, but we don't have a AA team in this town. The next closest AA team is about an hour and a half away. So add that to it. Oh, it's going to be fun, JJ. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be looking for a kidney buyer here pretty soon.
I don't know if anybody wants your kidneys, buddy. Are they in good shape?
They work fantastic. I'm at that age right now where I'll drink a coffee and I'll go to the bathroom 6 times. That's how good my kidneys are working right now.
All right. That's a little too much information. Now, all right. I know Kirby is not actually drafting, but I saw some Twitter discussion today over Tootin versus Bigsby. Not even counting Etienne, but out of those three, who do we think leads that backfield this year, Jayson?
I mean, I think it's not the sexy answer, but I think Etienne is the guy. Is still the guy. I mean, all of the rhetoric coming out of their OTAs and stuff has been that they want him to reemerge as the leader in that backfield. I understand it's rhetoric out of an OTA, so you have to take it with a massive grain of salt. But you know, as I mentioned earlier about Jonathan Taylor when we talked about him, I've seen him do that. I've seen Etienne perform in the NFL as well. I know he had a down year last year, and a lot of people have soured on him, and maybe rightfully so. But for where you can get him and at the discount that you can get him at, that's the guy that I'm targeting right now.
What about you, Jody?
Oh, I agree. People are forgetting that you look at Etienne's volume; it was just fine last year until he hurt his hamstring, or was his ankle? I think it was his hamstring, and that's what really started the fall for him. Once, you know, to take about a month, I was looking at his numbers when I was doing that article that I just wrote. He started getting the volume that he was in the first, 4 to 6 weeks of the year. A little bit later on, he wasn't as effective. Like, he wasn't making people miss, and I think that was a result from the injury that he had. So I agree. If I'm taking some shots on these guys, I mean, I like Special Tootin as much as the next guy, but it feels like, especially this early on, dynasty values or younger kid values are often much higher early in the summer before things start to, balance out a little bit later on. Because, us dynasty zealots get in there and, we cause people's volume to go higher than it should.
Well, I have some bad news, gentlemen. Doug's back.
I was back.
Our power company works fast over there.
Oh, jeez. No.
Now, Greg Kellogg says that our lads as Etienne as the RB1. I don't think our lads, though, is based upon any insider knowledge. Just best guesses, right? Or
based on depth charts put out by the team and stuff like that, right? So
agree.
Yeah. But generally, those depth charts are done by some marketing intern. That The power here in Tennessee would have been out a minimum of 2 hours, Sean says. He lives in Tennessee. That's basically the Canada of the South.
Wow.
Has anybody else ever called it that? No?
Canada of the South.
No. South Canada. South Canada. No.
No. Leave the jokes to me, buddy.
Wow.
Oh, you're drafting. So once again, you got Tillman while you were out.
No, I was able to get on my laptop. So those were picks I made.
So Bateman, Tillman, now Wright. So really, if you're drafting against Doug, just listen to this podcast because he only drafts players he talks about. It's very convenient.
Well, it's easier if you only remember 20 names out of the 400 in the league. Makes things
He is getting older. He is getting older.
Yeah. I have to keep brain capacity, open for all those other important things in life, whatever those things are.
High noon time in Canton.
Oh,
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
It's always high noon time until I get the bill. Oof. All right, let's look at Vince. Haven't talked a lot about you, Vince. Vince has gone heavy on tight ends. Drafting from down under. We have Trey McBride, George Kittle, Jonnu Smith, Goddard, Henry, Taylor, and Okonkwo. He might be starting 5 tight ends every week.
Well, it's a viable strategy in this format, especially like I said earlier. Tight ends catching a 10-yard pass for a first down. What's that? 5.5 points in this format. So,
all right. So
yeah.
Here's
someone didn't get her nub.
the dog sitting there at my feet. She didn't get her treat that she normally would have gotten about an hour and a half ago. She's letting me know.
Oh no.
It's all right. The wife took care of it.
Your wife is a saint.
Oh yeah.
She is a saint.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's finish up this 16th round on air. Then we'll close this up. You guys can finish the draft if you would like, or go on auto. We're seeing guys like Hopkins go, Blake Corum, Adam Thielen. I do like Pop Douglas. Doug knows I was able to get him for I think the 412 in a dynasty league. Glad you remembered that, buddy. That's why I keep you around.
That's right. Well, that was one of those important things I'm supposed to remember at my advanced age.
Like me knowing every quote to the movie Anchorman. The important things in life, kids.
I am Doug Orth.
That was funny, Doug.
Thank you.
That was funny. I did tell you to be better while you were out. I can't insult you while you're gone and then not own up to it.
That's right. I heard from a source. A source did say that you guys were bashing me while I was away, which is just,
a source.
Yeah, a source.
Okay.
You call it living up to it. I think you just wanted to insult him twice. That's
yeah. I'm not one to hold back on criticism or insults. So yes.
Yes, I know. Oh, Carla's laughing at you. It's glad. Everybody needs to be loved by someone.
Yeah, I'm a hard one to love, though.
Oh, that's not true.
That's not true at all.
That's not true.
1, 2.
Hour 2 is the therapy session on this podcast. Is that how this works?
Yeah, I mean, is anything going on? Like, how are you guys doing emotionally? Are we doing
Everything
okay?
at home?
Are you safe at home, Doug?
I was a psychology major, so please feel free
wow.
to.
Oh, were you really?
I was.
Huh. I wouldn't have figured that for as crazy as you are.
And then fantasy football opened its doors to me, and I said, "Thank you."
Auto mechanics always have the worst looking car. So
That's true.
They like it. They like a project too.
That's true.
So does Carla.
Wow.
Oh, okay. I think that's about our cue.
Yep. Shout out to Mike.
Yeah. Listen to Greg. We all have endless amount of time. Let's go. Endless amount of free time. Let's go.
Okay, listen, I have nowhere to go. I'm willing to stay on here. So,
well, we're entering that part of the draft where we really miss kickers right now. I think we're entering that part of the clear draft. Hey, I could really go from a little Pinero here. I'm going to start drafting guys that aren't even in the league here in a second.
That's right.
What about Deontay Johnson coming out and admitting
cold in Cleveland.
that it was too cold for him to go into a game?
Wasn't it like 40 or 41 degrees? That's
why. Yeah.
And doesn't he play for Cleveland now?
He does.
Good thing it's not cold there.
Well, I think what he said was, coach coming around late in the third quarter asked him to come in. He hadn't played all game, so he was cold. I don't know that he was actually. It was too
physically
cold for him. Yeah. That was my interpretation.
It was probably a little bit of both. I think it was a cold game too, where he'd been sitting the whole time.
Yeah, agree.
Should we talk at all about the collusion case? Anybody reading up on that? No?
I think it's a given. They're slightly colluding, at the very least, slightly colluding.
That's like every trade I make in this one dynasty league. People always say I'm slightly colluding. That's a joke. I don't make trades. Everybody knows that. I'm terrible at trading. I hate trades, man.
Me too. I'm terrible at. I never solicit trades, and then people will just pop in my DMs with an unsolicited trade that I wasn't looking for. And to me, it's always terrible. It's always 30-70, in their favor. And I'm always like, they're not even looking at my team needs. What is with this? And I just reject it with no comment. But I can't say my buddy Beryl, who will be going to the expo this year for the first time. We're in Dynasty Home League, and boy, he got us all hooked on trading. Boy, this was a fun Dynasty draft this year, thanks to Beryl. Hopefully he's watching. Thank you, Beryl. Boy, we must have made definitely a record number of trades, but I've never seen that many in any Dynasty draft. So for guys like old school guys like me who don't normally trade, it was a lot of fun, and I'm fixing to be on the clock here.
All right. So we saw Pat Bryant, DJ Giddens. Now, Doug, I know our buddy Drew doesn't really like taking too many rookies. You don't seem to have that same aversion.
Yeah, well, no, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, can you talk about that?
I wouldn't say that I'm seeking rookies so much here as in the case of Pat Bryant. Look, I haven't done my projections yet. Those will come up. Those will be ready in probably about 3 weeks. But it would be silly. It'd be silly for me to not to listen to Sean Payton, hear him talk about Pat Bryant. We've heard the Michael Thomas comparisons. Okay, we're not expecting Michael Thomas, but if he's talking about him in that light, I'd say there's at least a decent chance he's going to be at least a 50% snap guy in Denver this year. I think that's his floor. If he is the second coming of Michael Thomas, and the 1% chance that's going to happen, then bang. As far as DJ Giddens, I think he should be the clear number 2 behind Jonathan Taylor. I love Jonathan Taylor, but he's missed at least 2 games each of the last 3 years, and I think as many as 5, if I remember that correctly.
Yep.
So that's just more of one of those contingent upside type of things.
All right.
He's only got to be out. What? Khalil Herbert? Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
No. All right. So we see Sean here going with a bunch of tight ends in a row.
And I do like that Milroe pick. I think that's a great pick this late. I don't know that's going to pay off this year, but of course it's the 19th round, so we're not expecting massive payoffs here either.
It was also an auto pick.
Yes. I still do like it, though.
Oh, Matt Donnelly believing that Keenan Allen's going to be signed. Where do you think he ends up?
Anywhere right now. We're looking at, I wouldn't mind Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh would be a nice fit for him right now, since there's no other options out there besides DK Metcalf, and you'd have yourself Aaron Rodgers. I think for a one-time rental, that would make a lot of sense for me. Again, we're talking 17th round. We're begging for kickers to be added back into this league at this point. So, I mean, I'm watching guys. Amari Cooper doesn't even have a team right now, and Jody just took him. So
Yeah, why not?
and we
Swinging for upside now, aren't we?
at least Keenan Allen showed up last season. I don't know where Amari Cooper went after he got traded to Buffalo. So
I'm determined to win this league in 2018.
Hey, Doug, what do you call that when I classically deflect what my bad pick over to Jody's bad pick? Use that psychology major right now. Let's go.
Well, I think you said it. Well, that's projection, isn't it?
Deflection. Classic deflection.
Dear Lord. I think you would have therapists seeking therapy if the four of you were in their office.
Therapists love me. What's not to love about me? I got all kinds of. When I come to the party, I bring at least 4 other voices. So we're looking.
Yes.
Oh, dear Lord.
True story. He brings that to the dinner table when we have lunch with him, too.
We've always joked about having like a special show. I can't remember who brought this up, but having like little dudes living my mustache giving fantasy advice, right? I mean, that's kind of like little Troy's kind of hanging out with my mustache. I got the voices for all of them. We can make this happen.
I don't think we have the special effects budget to make that happen, but listen, I'd try. I'm all for the summer. We can make something work.
You can have students that know how to do that kind of stuff by now. No, they learn that like the 4th grade, don't they?
Listen, they know a lot more about computers than I do at this point. We keep coming up with ways to stop them from doing stuff, and they keep finding ways to do stuff.
It literally took me 55 minutes to turn my computer on. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Yes. The boomer himself. All right. We got Fannin and Conklin going back to back. Doug is taking Yoshivas.
And Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Big fan.
Yeah, you want to talk about him?
Yeah.
Does he merit a conversation?
I can't do anything with Krosky, so damn it. Yeah, you took the easier one. No, I don't have much to say. You do read something about Austin Eckler possibly being let go this summer. I don't think that's happening, and this is probably more of a 2026 pick. But that is a backfield that is right for the picking, and you could see JCM, as we're going to probably call him here pretty soon. You could see JCM ascending to a RB2 title pretty quickly. Brian Robinson gets hurt, and Eckler's in his 30s. So again, contingent upside here.
I like contingent upside. I also like auto draft, makes the draft go faster. We are zooming around here now.
We're going to go ahead and finish it.
I always hate that, Matt, when you're on the turn and the 3 people after you are all auto draft. No time to update Jody's spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah. He gave up on that a long time ago.
Jody, are you talking about yourself in the 3rd person?
Yeah, he is. Jody likes his chicken spicy.
Jody does not like fast drafts. Jody does not like fast drafts.
He's getting upset.
It's good.
All right. We have Noah Fant. Kyle Monangade. How do you say that name, Jody?
Monangai.
Monangai.
I now have all 3 Chicago
You're
running
just
backs.
making words.
Oh no! Someone took Monangai. No.
Well, if you have all 3,
Jody.
you can start them all in the same week. So whoever does well, you get them.
Yeah, guarantee it, right?
That is strategy, folks.
Smart.
Nothing like one guy going off for 7 points and the other one's getting 3 and 0. But
That was like my kickers last year. Every kicker I started didn't do well.
But all 3 backs in the Ben Johnson backfield, it's got some potential.
It's not a terrible idea. I just, yeah.
You're just
Guys went with Rattler.
It's round 21. You're just, taking shots.
Hey, listen, I still have to fill the time. Spencer Rattler, do you think that he might get some time over Tyler?
I think it's entirely possible. Yeah. I mean, I don't, that new staff has no obligations to him, obviously, but why can't he? Right? Are we that afraid of Tyler Shuck that he can't win that job? I'm not. And it is, the 18th round. I'm desperate. I couldn't find Panera, so I had to go with him instead.
Panera, it's right down on 512.
Yeah. No, there's a couple of them around. I also took Deontay Johnson in the 21st, so I'm just hoping for a warm fall in Cleveland.
Or just use him the first few weeks. Before it gets cold.
And some dome games in the winter. You can put yourself pretty good.
That's right.
Oh, my Lord.
I also have a general rule. When people ask you, how do you draft? One rule I generally keep is if I can't pronounce the name, I'm not drafting them because then I have to talk about them and I'm not able to say their name. So I think that's a very key thing to remember here as we go through it all.
Let's see. Did you do well with that? I mean, you're pretty much
Allen, Noel, Brown. I mean, get much easier than that.
No, that's vanilla. Oh, wait. What about
Tennessee's own, South Canada's very own. He's a Canadian. Good call.
How do you say this name, buddy?
How do I say my boy's name? Alec? Man, the guy grew up right here down the street.
No. Don't just do the first name. That's my trick. You have to say the whole name, buddy.
It's all about deflection.
Easy E. Come on.
EA.
Alec.
It's EA Sports.
It's in the game.
Yeah.
If it's an Io manner, it's in the game.
Oh, look at Doug with the flex saying the name.
Yeah.
Matt, that strategy reminds me of the Key and Peele sketch where the guys' names get more and more outlandish. And then the Dan Smith is at the end. That always cracks me up. That's the perfect stinger on that whole thing.
Jacqueline.
I hate it when that happens, Sean. I hate it when that happens.
I mean, there is something that hurts so much more when you get sniped at the end of a draft. When you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to take this guy and call it a day. Oh, that hurt. Oh,
that is it.
We did it.
That is it. We did it, folks. Oh, Isaiah Davis went by Sean. Very good pick.
You know what? I'm surprised. There's still a couple players I really considered there with that last pick there when I went Gadsden. I really think Hunter Renfrow could be something in PPR. I think that he's got a chance to redeem himself. Jalen Hyatt's one of those guys I have as a sleeper, a deep ball threat. If Jackson Dart is under center, Russell Wilson, these guys like to take a shot down the field. If Jameis Winston gets under center in New York, Jalen Hyatt to the moon, people.
Word.
All right, people. It's time for tags. Let everybody know where they can find you and anything that you are working on. Matt, you can go first.
Yeah, you'll find me down on the Vegas Strip here this weekend with my shirt off in 44-degree heat. I mean, I am not built for the summer. If you look at me, I'm built for -10 weather. That's what this build is about. So I'm going from about 44 degrees, whatever that is, 118. Is that what it works out to Fahrenheit? 118 degrees. And then I'm going to Anaheim where it's about 110 with 60% humidity. Again, not built for that. But that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for my work. Rotoballer, you can catch all my written stuff over there. I mean, we got our monthly Dynasty trade report that I do every month with the Dynasty market, kind of who's going up, who's going down, something I enjoy doing quite a bit. So anything that I write, you can probably catch over at rotoballer.com.
All right. Next up is Jayson.
Well, first of all, my tag on X, I guess we're calling it now. I'm still stuck on Twitter. I don't think I'll ever call it anything different. But Spide78 is right below my mug here. That's where you can find me and interact. Please do. I love to do so. My written work is over at Dynasty Nerds. We got a startup mock coming out where we comment on strategies and how to set up a team for a dynasty build. So you can look for that coming soon, and the coverage will just build as the summer continues and training camps get into full motion here. So lots of good stuff on the way.
Fantastic. Jody.
Still at Jody Smith NFL, conveniently right there on the window. I'm excited about the Football Diehards magazine, which I had a heavy hand involved with. It should be out on newsstands within a week, I'm hoping. I believe it's supposed to be the first part of July. So yeah, within a week. And the projections that I've already written and continue to play with every day should be posted pretty soon. They're ready to roll at fulltimefantasy.com.
Doug.
Gentlemen, before I wrap up, thank you all for showing up and doing the Lord's work here. You can you see my tag or my handle down there, same as it always was. I had I believe it was an NFC offensive line article come out yesterday, and so that gets me 3 articles in. Did a full preview a few weeks back. Did both AFC and NFC offensive lines. And my next 2 articles are going to be evaluating defense. So, and then that ramps me up to the time where I can do projections, and then we can in my big boards. So, JJ, I'll throw it back to you.
I'm at JJ Wenner on the socials. You can follow the pod at FF Diehards on X. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Jody, Jason, Matt, for all of your work. Doug, you as well. Thank you to everybody who participated in the draft. Vince, Mike, Ryan, who else? Kyle was on there, Sean, New England fan, Steve, and C. Motts. Thank you guys for participating. We'll be back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. with Gary Davenport to discuss all things fantasy. And until then, love yourself, know your worth. You are enough. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.